There are moments in life when your calmness confuses people more than your chaos ever did. When your peace becomes too loud for their noise. When your confidence in God rattles those who once tried to break you. They look at you and can't understand how you're still standing, how you're still smiling, how you can walk through fire and come out without the smell of smoke. But what they don't know is that your peace isn't from this world. It's from God. They can't handle your peace because it exposes what they lost, and they can't comprehend your strength because it isn't yours. It's heaven's strength living inside you. You see, there was a time when they dismissed you. When people talked about you like you were disposable, they overlooked your worth because you didn't shine like they did, because you didn't fit their mold, because you didn't chase validation. But God was raising your value in silence. While they were busy underestimating you, God was elevating you. While they were gossiping about your failures, God was preparing your comeback. You didn't need to announce what He was doing, because what's born in secret always reveals its power in time. I want you to remember something. Peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is standing in the middle of the storm and still knowing who your anchor is. Anyone can praise when the sun is shining, but real faith is when you can smile while the thunder rolls. It's when the bank account is empty, but your heart is still full of hope. It's when friends walk away, but you still bless their name. That's peace. That's strength. That's the kind of unshakable faith that confuses the enemy. Some people can't handle your peace because your calm spirit reminds them of their own unrest. They thrive on drama. They need chaos to feel alive. And when you refuse to be drawn into their storms, it frustrates them. But listen, don't let their noise interrupt your stillness. Don't trade your peace for anyone's approval. You've worked too hard, prayed too long, and survived too much to go back to who you used to be. When God raises your value, you can't sit at the same tables anymore. You can't engage in the same conversations. You can't fight the same battles. You've been promoted in the spirit, and not everyone who knew you before can handle who you are now. Think about Joseph. His own brothers couldn't handle his dream. They tried to bury him, but every pit they threw him in only brought him closer to the palace. What they didn't realize was that they weren't destroying him, they were positioning him. God used their betrayal to redirect his destiny. And when Joseph finally stood in power, he didn't need revenge. He had peace. That's what happens when God raises your value. You no longer need to prove anything to anyone. You realize that peace is proof of power. Some of you have been through seasons where you were misunderstood. You were labeled as distant, cold, or proud, simply because you stopped responding to negativity. But that's not pride. That's maturity. That's God teaching you how to choose peace over pettiness. It's not that you don't care anymore. It's that you care too much about your purpose to waste energy fighting battles God already won. They don't understand why you don't clap back, why you don't argue, why you don't defend yourself anymore, but it's because your peace became more valuable than their opinion. And here's the truth. Peace costs something. It costs isolation. It costs silence. It costs walking away from what no longer feeds your soul. It's choosing to trust God when your flesh wants to react. It's staying calm when you could explode. It's forgiving people who never apologize. That's not weakness. That's spiritual strength. And the more you grow in peace, the more you'll realize that some people aren't mad at you. They're mad that their chaos no longer controls you. They used to manipulate your emotions, but now you've outgrown their games. They can't handle your peace because your peace exposes their lack of it. Let me tell you something powerful. When God raises your value, He doesn't need anyone's permission. He doesn't consult your critics. He doesn't take a vote. When He decides to bless you, even your enemies will have to watch it happen. The same people who doubted you will see your name called in rooms they tried to keep you out of. They'll see your life bear fruit they never believed possible. And when that happens, don't boast. Stay peaceful, because your peace will preach louder than your pride ever could. There's a reason God told you to be still, because stillness is a statement of trust. When you stop trying to force things, when you stop chasing what's running away, when you rest in His plan instead of reacting to their opinions, you show heaven that you believe Him. You're saying, God, I don't need to defend myself. You'll handle it. And every time you choose peace, heaven backs you up. Every time you stay silent in faith, God speaks for you louder than your words ever could. Maybe right now, you're walking through a season where you feel unseen. Maybe people are misunderstanding your silence. But hear me. You're not being overlooked. You're being preserved. God hides valuable things. He's not punishing you. He's protecting what's priceless. Diamonds are not displayed while they're being formed. They're kept in the dark until the right moment. And when God brings you out, your shine will speak for itself. You won't have to announce your worth. Your peace will reveal it. Some of you have been asking, why don't I fit in anymore? It's because you've outgrown the level where you once belonged. God raised your value, and with higher value comes greater separation. You're not supposed to fit in where there's no faith, no growth, no peace. You were never called to blend in. You were chosen to stand out. That's why your peace irritates them. That's why your calm confidence feels like a threat. Because when you walk with God, you don't compete, you don't compare. You carry something this world can't counterfeit. So keep your peace even when they provoke you. Guard it like treasure. Because your peace is proof of God's presence in your life. It's a crown you wear that no man gave you, and no man can take away. When you walk in peace, you walk in power. When you live in peace, you live in authority. They may not understand it. They may not celebrate it. But that's okay. They didn't give it to you. And when they ask how you made it through, how you stayed calm when everything was falling apart, just smile and say, it wasn't me, it was God. Because the truth is, they can't handle your peace, but your peace is the evidence that God raised your value. So keep standing tall, keep shining quietly, keep walking with grace. You don't need to prove your worth. He already stamped it with His favor. Your peace is your power. Your stillness is your strength. And your value, it's already been set by the one who never makes mistakes. Your peace is divine strength that confuses those who thrive on chaos. There are people who can't understand why you no longer react the way you used to. They remember the version of you who would argue, defend, and fight to be understood. But now, you've reached a place where you simply smile and walk away, and that silence frustrates them. They don't realize that your peace is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's a sign that you've learned to choose faith over fury. You're no longer controlled by what others say or do, because you've learned that peace is not something you wait for when life calms down. It's something you carry even when everything is shaking. You've discovered that real strength isn't in how loud you can be. It's in how calm you can stay. When God gives you peace, it's not fragile. It's not the kind of peace that breaks when people disappoint you or when plans fall apart. It's rooted deep in something eternal. It's divine strength, placed in you by the hand of God Himself. And because it's divine, the world can't understand it. The world looks for peace in people, in possessions, in control. But your peace doesn't come from what you have. It comes from who you belong to. You're no longer chasing validation or revenge. Because you've realized the most powerful response is calmness that confuses your enemies. When others expect you to explode, you exhale. When they try to drag you into drama, you respond with grace. That's the mark of someone who's been refined by God's hand. This kind of peace shakes people. It unsettles those who once fed off your reactions. They thrived when they could control your emotions. They were comfortable when you were defensive, when you were broken, when you needed to be heard. But now, they don't know how to reach you anymore. You're not the same person they once knew. You've grown beyond their reach because your spirit has matured. You've learned that peace doesn't need to shout. It speaks through presence. You can walk into a room and bring stillness with you. You can stand in the middle of conflict and not be moved because your peace isn't tied to circumstances. It's anchored in God's promises. There will always be people who mistake your peace for indifference. They'll say you don't care anymore, but what they don't see is that you've simply learned where to invest your energy. You've chosen to protect what God has placed in you. You've chosen to guard your heart because you understand that peace is sacred. And when something is sacred, not everyone deserves access to it. You can love people deeply and still refuse to let them disturb your spirit. You can forgive them completely and still keep your distance. That's what divine peace looks like. It's love without attachment to chaos. You've also learned that peace doesn't mean you won't face storms. It means the storm no longer dictates your emotions. You can be surrounded by uncertainty and still sleep soundly. You can hear bad news and still whisper. God is in control. That's power. That's the kind of strength that can't be explained. It can only be experienced. And that strength, that calmness, threatens those who haven't found it yet. People who live in chaos don't know how to function around peace. They either try to steal it or destroy it. But no one can take what God has given you. When your peace comes from heaven, no argument, no betrayal, no disappointment can touch it. You'll notice that as you grow in peace, your circle changes. Some people will walk away, not because you did something wrong, but because they can't connect with your calmness anymore. They don't know how to sit in silence. They only know how to survive through noise. But you've learned that silence isn't empty. It's full of strength. It's in silence that you hear God most clearly. It's in stillness that you remember who you are. So, you no longer chase those who leave. You bless them, release them, and keep walking in peace. Because the more peaceful you become, the clearer your vision gets. The less you react, the more you rise. That's why your peace confuses people. It exposes what they haven't healed. It reveals their restlessness, their insecurity, their need for control. Your calmness mirrors their chaos. But that's not your problem to fix. You weren't called to dim your peace to make others comfortable. You were called to carry it as proof that God dwells within you. Because when you walk in divine peace, you're walking in divine authority. You're no longer moved by opinions, controlled by emotions, or defined by circumstances. You're anchored in something eternal. And that anchor, God's peace, is the quiet power that shakes the world without making a sound. When God raises your value, He separates you from what no longer serves your purpose. Sometimes the hardest part of elevation is isolation. You start losing people you thought would always be there, and at first it feels like rejection. But it's not rejection, it's redirection. God isn't taking away your circle to punish you. He's trimming your life to prepare you. There are places He's taking you where some people can't go, not because they're bad, but because they're not built for your next level. When God raises your value, your environment has to match your new worth. And that means He will allow separation to happen so your spirit can breathe again. You may notice that conversations start feeling different. Things that used to entertain you don't anymore. The noise you once tolerated now irritates your peace. That's not pride. It's growth. That's a sign that God is shifting your desires to align with your destiny. What once satisfied you no longer does because you've outgrown it. When gold is refined, it can't stay in the dirt. It has to go through fire to reveal its true worth. And you're in that process right now. You've been through seasons that felt lonely, confusing, and even painful. But every moment was preparing you to stand stronger, shine brighter, and walk lighter. There comes a time when God says, you can't stay here anymore. The friendships that kept you comfortable, the habits that once felt harmless, the environments that once seemed normal, they start to feel too small. That's how you know your value has increased. You can't fit in places you've outgrown. You can't stay connected to what doesn't align with who you're becoming. God begins to close doors you didn't have the strength to shut yourself. And though it may sting, it's necessary. He's not just removing distractions, He's making space for your destiny. The pruning always comes before the promise. When your value rises, you start seeing yourself differently. You stop begging for what you deserve. You stop explaining your worth to those who refuse to see it. You stop trying to convince people to stay who were never meant to go. That's the beauty of divine elevation. It teaches you discernment. You realize that not every connection is covenant. Some people were only meant to walk with you for a season, to teach you something, to test your patience, to strengthen your faith. But when their purpose is fulfilled, holding on to them becomes a weight. And if you're not careful, you'll carry what was meant to be released. There's a reason diamonds don't stay in rough form. They go through pressure, cutting, and shaping before they're revealed. That process is painful, but it's necessary to display their brilliance. God works the same way. He applies pressure not to break you, but to define you. The people who walked away didn't lower your value. They revealed it. Because real value doesn't beg to be noticed. It's recognized by those with eyes to see. You're not harder to reach now. You're simply more selective with your peace. You're protecting what God has placed within you, and that's exactly what you're supposed to do. The truth is, when God raises your value, He doesn't just change what's around you. He changes what's inside you. You start to crave stillness over noise, prayer over popularity, purpose over approval. You stop chasing things that distract and start focusing on things that build. You learn that peace and progress sometimes come at the cost of companionship. And that's okay, because not everyone can handle the process of your transformation. Some people loved you when you were broken because it made them feel needed, but your healing makes them uncomfortable. Your growth challenges their stagnation. And that's why separation happens. It's God's way of protecting your peace and preserving your purpose. You'll know God has raised your value when certain doors start closing by themselves. Opportunities you once wanted won't feel right anymore. Environments that once felt exciting will suddenly drain you. You're not losing your passion. You're gaining clarity. You're learning to recognize the difference between what feeds your ego and what feeds your soul. That's maturity. That's transformation. That's God positioning you for something greater than what you imagined. And even though this separation can feel lonely, it's in the solitude that God reveals Himself most clearly. He whispers, I'm still here. I'm still guiding you. You're not alone. Because when everyone else walks away, His presence fills the empty spaces. He becomes your comfort, your confidence, your confirmation. And one day, you'll look back and realize that every person who left, every opportunity that faded, every door that closed, it all had to happen for you to rise. God raised your value, and everything that could no longer hold your new strength had to let go. Peace is not the end of the story. It's the proof that you've made it through. The reason your peace feels so powerful now is because you remember what it cost you. You remember the nights when you cried out for strength, when the weight of rejection felt unbearable, when silence felt like punishment instead of protection. But through it all, God was there, shaping you quietly, increasing your value when no one was watching. You didn't see it at the time, but every disappointment was divine preparation. Every loss was a setup for restoration. Every season of isolation was building the strength you walk in today. And now, you carry something that can't be faked. Peace that stands tall in storms. Peace that doesn't depend on people. Peace that whispers, God's got this. Even when everything seems uncertain. The world may look at you and wonder how you keep standing, how you keep smiling when life hasn't been easy. They don't realize your peace didn't come cheap. It was paid for through your surrender. You stopped fighting for control and started trusting God's plan. You stopped chasing people and started chasing purpose. And that surrender became your breakthrough. It wasn't when the situation changed. It was when you did. You realized that you can't control everything, but you can control your response. You can choose to remain still, even when everything around you shakes. You can choose to believe that God's timing is perfect, even when it feels late. That choice, that calm confidence, is what makes your peace so untouchable. You see, peace is what happens when you finally understand who you are and whose you are. You're not defined by people's opinions or your past mistakes. You are defined by the one who created you. And when you know that truth, no rejection can shake you, no betrayal can break you, no failure can stop you. Because your worth doesn't fluctuate, it's fixed in God's promise. He raised your value long before anyone ever recognized it. You were chosen, anointed, and set apart for a purpose bigger than your pain. And now, everything you've been through makes sense. It was God proving that what's meant for you will always find you, no matter who walks away. So walk in that peace. Guard it like treasure, because your peace is your crown. It tells the world that you've survived the breaking and still chose to love, forgive, and move forward. Don't let anyone steal it. Don't lower your value to fit places God pulled you out of. You've been raised for more, called for more, destined for more. Let your calm speak louder than your words. Let your silence echo with strength. Let your peace preach without a pulpit. Because the truth is, they can't handle your peace. But that's not your burden to carry. You've already been lifted, already been refined, already been marked by favor. Keep walking in the confidence that the same God who raised your value will protect your peace. And the world will see His glory shining through you. Quietly and powerfully, one peaceful step at a time.